So, you're thinking about moving to Seattle.
And you want to know the pros and the cons, the good and the bad, the yin and the yang? Well, we are going to do that in this video. We are going to look at the advantages and the disadvantages of living in Seattle.
And we are going to get after it right now.
If this is your first time to our channel and you want to know everything about living in Greater Seattle, then you definitely want to hit that subscribe and tap that notification bell so you'll be the first to know about our current market in Seattle.
My name is Jess.
And my name's Sterling.
We're realtors in the Greater Seattle area. Our team gets calls and emails every day from people just like you looking to make their move to the Seattle area, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're planning to make the move in 9 days or 90 days, please give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. We would love to help you make that smooth move to the Greater Seattle area.
As a lifelong resident and having lived in 6 places in Greater Seattle, I absolutely love it here. In fact, in my 20s, I was a tour guide and I loved showing people around our great area.
Yeah, that skill set has really helped out in the real estate industry because you also get to be a tour guide of the city.
I get to brag about Seattle, that's true.
Exactly, yeah, and I've lived here for 18 years and absolutely love this part of the state. It's just so beautiful here. So we love living in Seattle, but there's no perfect place. There's always gonna be pros and cons of wherever you decide to live.
Yeah, so we don't wanna have a rose-colored glasses point of view. Of course, because we live here, we are biased, but we do wanna show you or do wanna express the downsides if you are considering a move here. So let's get right into the topic, and the very first pro of living in Seattle is?
There is no state income tax.
There's no state income tax. So there's only 8 states in the United States that offer no state income tax, and here in Washington we have that luxury. This will help some people more than others, so this may or may not be a pro to you. We find it as self-employed people a strong pro, and when we would consider moving to another state, we would have to factor that in, having an additional state tax. But here in Washington or in Seattle, we don't have that, so that's a nice luxury.
Absolutely. So the next pro on our list is the weather. Yes, you heard me correctly, the weather. We have such a mild, temperate climate here in the Greater Seattle area that you can enjoy the outdoors pretty much year round. So that is definitely a pro.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people say, oh, Seattle's this terrible place to live because of the weather. Well, this is in fact one of the many things that people who move here love about it. So you're rarely going to hear people complain because it's too hot. You're rarely going to hear people complain because it's too cold. Yes, we do have those drizzly days that seem like they're never ending. However, that also cleans our air, so we get great fresh air. We also live in the evergreen state. So these are all reasons why people enjoy living here, especially if you've lived in the Northeast and you've shoveled tons of snow, or you've lived in the South and you've suffered from that really torturous summer humidity. So in Seattle, we do have plenty of liquid sunshine. However, it's important to note that you can live the entire year with a t-shirt, long sleeve shirt, and a light rain jacket most of the time, right? And we're just saying to have layers to be able to peel those off or put those on when needed, and you're set.
Yeah, and you can always spot a tourist because they're usually the ones carrying the umbrella around. I mean, I remember when I first moved to Seattle, I would always bring an umbrella with me and then quickly realized that I didn't actually use it that often, and I was just dragging it from place to place, and I would maybe open it for a minute and then close it back up because often we get drizzle, and it's off and on drizzle. We don't get torrential downpours except on occasion, and so that also makes it nice as well.
I challenge those of you who think that it rains here constantly when we get the most rainfall in the States. If you Google right now, what has more rainfall, New York or Seattle? New York every year gets more annual rainfall. So it is a good point that Jess is making. we have 2 young kids, and we go outside even if it's drizzling or raining, because we just put on the REI jacket, have some good shoes or rain boots, and it doesn't stop us.
The next pro for living in Seattle are the numerous job opportunities that we have here.
It's true. Amazon is headquartered in Seattle, and they are expanding. Also, Microsoft is here as well, and this really makes Seattle one of the tech hubs in the nation. But we also have plenty of other industries that provide a lot of job opportunities here as well.
That's right. We have Boeing, we've got Starbucks, we've got Alaska Airlines, Costco, Nordstrom, Weyerhaeuser, the University of Washington, a lot of healthcare and biotech jobs as well.
And because the economy has such a robust job market, the median household income is well over $100,000, which provides a lot of good infrastructure, and these high income earners help provide for a good place to live.
So next on our list is that Seattle is a relatively healthy city. Not only are there so many ways that you can stay active outdoors, but we have a lot of natural grocery stores. We have PCC, Whole Foods, Metropolitan Market, Trader Joe's, Sprouts, numerous farmers markets throughout the area, as well as plenty of opportunities for restaurants if you have, let's say, food allergies, gluten sensitivities, gluten-free, vegan, you name it, you can find it here in the greater Seattle area. So that's a huge plus.
That's a big pro. So those of you who are health conscious, Seattle's a great place to live. Not only does Seattle offer a lot of great options when it comes to healthy and tasty eating, we also have some of the world's best coffee. How can I say that? Well, Starbucks was founded here, and we have a lot of Starbucks stores throughout the city, and you can enjoy other companies, other types of roasts and manufacturers that have really exquisite brews as well.
That's right. There's something for everyone. So if Starbucks isn't your cup of coffee, cup of joe, I was going to say cup of tea, but I guess they make a little bit of tea. Anyway, I'm getting off subject. There are also plenty of different alternatives in the Seattle area as well. And our favorite reason for living in Seattle is the abundance of natural beauty and the proximity to nature, and just being able to get outside and enjoy this space year round.
We are so blessed because we have Lake Washington on one side, the Puget Sound on the other. We also have the Cascades and then the Olympics, so you can get to mountain ranges, lakes, bodies of water really easily. So we're so blessed to live in one of the most gorgeous cities in all of America. Also, if you just want to go for a stroll, a park is always nearby.
Yeah, there's so much green space.
Yeah.
Locally, as well as within an hour's drive, you can reach mountains as well.
Not to get too far off into the history of Seattle, but the founding of Seattle really included a lot of parks and green space, so we have that to enjoy today. So are you familiar with Seattle? Have you visited us before? Or if you're local, please let us know in the comments below, what are your pros or the best things about living here in Seattle? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and we just covered all of the pros, and I'm sure you are falling in love with Seattle, but we also have to mention some of the cons as well. So we are gonna dive into the first one, and that is the traffic. So Seattle has a lot of traffic because we have the mountain ranges and the bodies of water. It constricts things, and it does make it a little bit hard to get around. We have more limited roads and alternative routes if those roads get backed up.
Yeah, it's not something we're proud of, but we do have to mention that Seattle is one of the worst cities when it comes to gridlock. And it's just like Jess said, we're confined. We're locked between the lakes and mountains, so we can only work within these channels of road, and it doesn't give us a lot of options.
Now the light rail is being built. We have a lot of it built already from the airport all the way up to, I believe, Northgate at the time of this recording. And we have other stops slated to be opening soon in the next couple of years. So hopefully that will help to alleviate some of that traffic, but it is still an issue. So next on our cons list is the homelessness. And that is something that is very controversial. There are strong opinions on both sides of the aisle. We're gonna try to steer clear of the politics of it. It is a tragic situation, and there's no clear answer or solution to it. But it is one of those things that you will notice when you come to visit our area.
Yeah, it's true. It's like many cities, but Seattle has an extra dose of homelessness. In fact, we have the third highest population of homeless in the United States, and that's coming from a city that's not even one of the largest cities. So the fact that we have such a pervasive homelessness situation makes it really, really tough for the residents, for the homeless, for the politicians. It's just a tough situation. That being said, good things have happened since the current mayor has taken office. So when we talk about homelessness, we're talking about a number of things. It could be individuals in a sleeping bag. It could be somebody having a tent on a sidewalk or an entire encampment. And so it's not safe for these folks. And it's not good for the residents either, because they're worried about crime, they're worried about sanitation, just having a good environment for everybody.
So next on our cons list is going to be something that was on our pros list, and that is the weather. Yes, the weather is going to make it on both of our lists, because while we do have a temperate climate that allows for us to enjoy the beauty of the outdoors year round, it can also be very dark and gray a huge amount of the year, and that can lead to some seasonal depression. So you'll definitely want to make sure that you up that vitamin D intake if you do decide to live in Seattle. But that is something that would be considered on the cons list as well as the pro.
Yeah, so while you can go outside just about every month in the year, and we did mention that it's seldom too hot, seldom too cold, you might get a bit depressed when you don't see the sunshine, because we can have these long, drawn out weeks or sometimes months where you don't see blue sky, and that can be rough on a lot of individuals. What has been your take since moving to Seattle?
Yeah, I moved from an area where we had a true 4 seasons, and I feel like in Seattle, it's really 2 seasons. We get a really beautiful summer with sunshine, and even it lingers into the fall. We also have a really beautiful fall. But then from about November until May, I would say, like, it's pretty dreary, and even sometimes into June, we don't start to get consistently nice weather. So when that sunshine does peek out of the sky, it just, for me, it feels like I have this deep breath of like fresh life breathed into my soul when I see that sunshine. And it also, maybe this is just me, but it seems like people are more friendly when the sun comes out, because we're all getting that sunshine that we desperately need.
So here's the solution. If you move to Seattle, book your trip to Hawaii,
Yes.
Southern California,
Mexico,
places that
someplace
offer
sunny.
the sunshine and that warmth. So it's true that there is no avoiding the cloud cover, because I think most people would agree the rain isn't really the problem. It's just that constant gray that gets old. And by about March or April in the year, I start just thirsting for some sunshine.
Up next on our cons is what we call the Seattle freeze. And that is just simply that in the Seattle area, we don't have as friendly of people. And that doesn't mean that they aren't nice. Once you get to know people, they're very friendly, but they're not going to go out of their way necessarily to try to break that ice. It's almost like we live in these little bubbles, and unless you work with them or are doing some activity where you kind of are forced to interact, they're not necessarily just going to go out of their way to be super friendly or neighborly like you would experience in other parts of the country. However, once you do kind of break that ice and get to know people, they are very friendly and nice in this area. So don't get the idea that people aren't nice. It's just that they're not as outgoing to go out of their way to be super welcoming and overly engaging.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny concept for those of you who haven't heard about it. So there is a Wikipedia page that you can go and check out this term called the Seattle freeze, and it's exactly what Jess just mentioned. It's sort of a way of interacting, or lack thereof, when it comes to the openness and friendliness. You'll find that people are a little bit more reserved here. People tend to like their privacy, and some would go so far as to say that we're passive aggressive, that you don't necessarily hear what someone is thinking because they're not as open. So Jess and I, we have great friends, and some of those folks have come to our city from other parts. We are not a terrible crowd, but just be forewarned that it's not as warm and heartfelt as some of the other areas that you may have experienced.
Yeah, and if you want that, then I would just encourage you to try to get involved in local events, local functions where you actually get to go out and meet people who are also showing up to those things as well. And that way you're not gonna move here and feel really lonely. So the last con on our list for living in Seattle is the high cost of living. Currently, the median home value in Seattle is around $850,000, and that's double that of the national average. So Seattle is a very expensive place to live.
And that's not even a fancy house. We're not talking new construction or waterfront, anything like that. That $850,000 that Jess is mentioning is maybe a house that needs some work too. So we're talking about just the median home value currently. Also, there are other costs of living that are much higher in Seattle. We have one of the highest sales taxes in the nation. Currently, our sales tax is 10.25%. So that's a lot higher than just about every other city or state tax when you're getting a sales tax.
We also have very high property taxes as well because we have high sales prices. So that is also something else to factor in. One of our pros was that we have no state income tax, but with these other taxes, you kind of have to start crunching the numbers to make sure that it makes sense for you.
Alcohol is quite expensive. You might find yourself drinking a little bit less.
That could be a good thing.
That might be good. Also, we have high gas taxes as well. So it all adds up. Seattle is not a cheap place to live.
And with that wraps up our pros and cons for living in Seattle. We hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like to add any pros or cons to the list, please comment in those comments below. And of course, if you are planning to make your move to Seattle or the greater Seattle area, we would love to help you. So reach out, send us a text, give us an email, or give us a call. We'd love to help you.